Yesterday I was in the sauna and I set myself a target of 20 minutes. But something happened. After 15 minutes, it got uncomfortable. It got very, very hot and my mind, that inner bitch came true. Just leave. It's okay. Go have a shower. You can come back afterwards. Nobody's going to know anyway. What does it matter? But when you're in the sauna, you also have a lot of time to think. And while this was going on, I then thought, I was watching the UFC the weekend before. Imagine these guys. They set themselves a target of 20 minutes sauna, but 15 minutes in, they decided to tap out. The fight is already lost before they even step into the octagon because they've mentally tapped out on themselves. And it got me thinking, so many guys, most guys set huge goals for themselves with their business, their body, their relationships, the freedom that they want. But yet on a daily basis, they're breaking the small promises to themselves. And your mind doesn't know whether it's a big promise or a small promise. It's just keeping score. That you say you're going to do something, but yet you fall through on it. So how do you think it is actually possible for you to achieve the goals that you want in your life if you can't stick to the small little promises you make to yourself on a daily basis? So I knew if I left that sauna 5 minutes early, that would show up in every area of my life. It would show up in my nutrition. It would show up in my training. It would show up in my business, all my standards. Because if I'm breaking my standards and lowering my standards in one area of my life, and I am not following through on what I say I'm going to follow through on, that will show up in every single area. And the difference between winners and losers. Everyone sets goals. There's 8 billion people on planet Earth. Every single one of them has a goal. But very, very few actually achieve their goals. And it's the guys who treat themselves like pro athletes. They set the goals, but they raise the level of their standards. Do you think Cristiano Ronaldo is not going to show up to practice one day because he's a little bit tired? Do you think Max Holloway, Paddy Pimblett, Messi, they're going to slack off on areas of their life, areas of their training because they're a little bit tired, they don't feel up for it? No. So then how do we human beings, the rest of the population, think we can set goals but not show up on a daily basis and not have a set of non-negotiable standards? And in this video, I'm going to talk you through exactly how to treat yourself like an athlete and why it is so important to actually follow through on your word, especially on the days you don't feel like doing it. Because they're the days that count. We can all show up. We can be consistent on the days we feel motivated. But it's on the days that we don't feel like doing it. That's what separates the winners and the losers. That's what separates the people who achieve their goals and don't. So the first thing we're going to touch off is your life is an extension of you and your standards. Think about it. Your body, it's just a byproduct of how you show up each and every day. Your business, your career, your relationships, your financial situation. Everything is an extension of how you show up each and every day. So until you first become the man, you won't achieve your goals. You won't achieve the life that you want, the body that you want, the business, the relationships. It won't happen until you first become the man. We don't achieve the external factors in our life before we become the man. That is the key. And that is, if you can take one thing away from this video, I really want you to just internalize that. You do not achieve the life that you want until you first become the man. How he shows up, how he holds himself to a high standards, the body that he has, the discipline that he has on his daily basis. If he makes a promise to himself, he follows through on it. That's the key to achieving anything you want in life. Hold yourself to a high standard. Follow through on your word. Because we can all set goals, as I spoke about. But until you actually hold yourself to that standard of following through on what you said you're going to do, you're just going to keep repeating the same cycle for the next 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, hopefully not 20 years, but you're going to keep repeating the same cycle. And I was stuck in this cycle for years and years. So in this video, I just want to educate you on the cycle I was broken. I could set the goals, I could never follow through consistently for long enough. I had the intensity, but the consistency was never there. And the entry point to actually becoming that man, to being able to follow through on your word, is your fitness. It's your body. It's your personal standards, your nutrition, your sleep schedule. That is the entry point. Because if you can't control what you put into your mouth, if you can't consistently follow through on a training schedule, going to sleep on time, it's going to be very, very hard to do that in any other area of your life. And not just from an aesthetic standpoint. Yes, getting to that 10 to 12% body fat, that's when you're in peak physical shape. It's when you actually hold yourself to a high standard with your personal standards. But it's not just about how you look. It's about how you feel, mentally how you feel. Because your diet's dialed in, so your cognitive function is going to be better. You're going to be mentally sharper. You're going to have predictable energy on a daily basis. Your confidence will improve. Your self-respect will improve because you're following through on the word that you said you were going to follow through on. You set yourself a target and you follow through on it, because it's all well and good doing the internal work and doing the affirmations and doing the visualization. But if you don't actually show up on a daily basis and follow through on what you said you're going to do, there's going to be a gap between who you say you are and how you actually show up each and every day. So until you close that gap and show up as the man you know you're capable of becoming, you're going to feel that misalignment each and every single day. So the body, the physique, the nutrition, that's the entry point to becoming the man. You build the body first, not just for the aesthetics, but all the benefits I just mentioned. It turns you into a different man. It turns you into a savage. And that's the foundation. That is the baseline of everything that we need to do. The first thing that you need to do is you need to strip everything back. Strip your days back, strip your weeks back, strip your months back. To the baseline, to the foundation, you the individual. Non-negotiable is 8 hours sleep. Training 4 to 5 times per week between weights and cardio. Making sure you're having a set time for getting your steps in, to move the body, even just from a longevity standpoint, for a digestion standpoint, for a mental clarity standpoint. It's not just about the physique, it's about you, the individual, the operator behind your whole life. So your days need to be designed with you front of mind. That is non-negotiable. Everything then is an extension of that. It's an extension of you, because if you're getting your 8 hours sleep, if your nutrition is timed in a way that your macros is on point, so you're mentally sharp, you're building an aesthetic physique, you have that predictable energy, you're then having the recovery dialed in, every other area of your life is going to benefit massively. You can't tell me that it's not. Your business will improve because you're mentally sharper. So when you have your tasks to do on a daily basis, you're more potent with what you're doing. You can work for less hours, but you can be a lot more effective within that time because you have that clarity. You have predictable energy and you can focus, you can sit. And I see it happen so often. Like I have guys that come to me, entrepreneurs, they're so locked in with business. Business is their number one goal. It is the most important thing to them. And at the end of the day, business is going to be, we're entrepreneurs. It's going to be a huge part of our life, 100%. But if we put business on a pedestal and we sacrifice our own personal standards, I've seen it happen with myself, with hundreds of clients that I've worked with. Your business being your main priority actually slows down the growth of your business, and it actually has a negative effect on your business. And you're probably thinking, shut up, Shemi. you're chatting waffle. But let me explain. So many guys come to me and their nutrition is out of whack. They're training maybe 1 to 2 times per week. They're smashing nicotine, they're smashing caffeine. That's what they're relying on. But then come the evening, they're so fried, they're scrolling, they're doom scrolling till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And then they're trying to get up at 7, 8 a.m. to have a nice productive day, but they're struggling to get up out of bed. And yes, they may be spending more time at the laptop, but how effective are they when they're sitting? You tell me. If you're smashing nicotine, caffeine, you're not sleeping, you're doom scrolling till late at night, you're not hitting your workouts, you're not hitting your steps, your macros is all over the place. There is no way in hell you can tell me that you sitting for 12 hours in front of a laptop with those personal standards, with those personal habits, is going to be more beneficial then you having your sleep dialed in, your nutrition, your training, limiting the amount of caffeine, having actual real predictable energy on a daily basis, and sitting for 8 hours in front of the laptop. Who do you think is going to win when it comes down to it? You're going to be a lot more efficient when your personal standards are put on the same level. I would personally say personal standards and business just slightly below. And I'm telling you from experience, again, whether you listen to me or not, it's up to you. But I've done it the other way around. And what happens, yes, you can push, but you always end up burning out. You always end up burning out. You can have the intensity, but the consistency never lasts. So until you raise your personal standards to be in line with your business standards, once you do that, all areas of life grow in harmony. Because with your personal standards, that's your relationships, that's your spirituality, that's your family, that's your own health. And that comes down, and then that benefits your business. It benefits all areas of your life. You do not need to sacrifice one for the other. Both can grow in harmony. And I would argue that if both are not growing in harmony, you will end up paying for that in the long run. If you go all in on your physique, let's be real. If you go all in on your personal standards, but you neglect your business, you're going to struggle financially with your business, with your purpose. If you go all in business, but neglect your personal, your health is going to pay for that down the line. You're going to burn out. So do both at the same time. I promise you, get your mind, your body, your habits, your daily routine locked in. Set up your calendar in a specific way that you're prioritizing yourself, your highest leverage tasks. And you become the man. Literally in all areas. Even for your future family, for your future wife. Like, I was actually in the restaurant or the cafe a couple of mornings ago, and there was this like overweight guy, and his son was basically, his little toddler son was like, not toddler, but like 7 to 8 year old son was making fun of him for being fat. And I was like, that is surely soul destroying. The guy was just sitting there like, whatever, on his phone. And I was like, what the imagine your child making fun of you for being fat and out of shape, and you're okay with that. That to me is just wild. Like, for me, my future family, that's a huge key aspect of me showing up each and every day, for actually following through on what I say I'm going to do. Like one of the guys, he lost, I think it was 14 kgs at the start of the year. His kid now is going around calling him Superman, saying, "Daddy, do your pose," and flexing his bicep. He messaged me a couple of weeks back and told me. I thought that was hilarious. For me, that's the way it has to be. Like if your son is calling you fat, that is, we're going a little bit off topic here, I know. But for me, just becoming the man your vision demands for your future family, for your wife, for your business, your career, your loved ones around you. That comes down to your personal standards. So guys, just remember, your life is going to be an extension of you, how you show up each and every day. Your body is the foundation. It turns you into the man that you know that you should be. It closes that gap between who you say you are and how you show up in each and every day. Because once you do that with your body and you actually build an aesthetic physique, you have the predictable energy, you have your daily routine dialed in, you understand you can transfer those same disciplines into any other area of your life. Whether that's with your business, you say, okay, I'm going to do this, but you're still falling short. No, you've done it with your body. You've seen the proof. You've built the physical proof. You can then do that with your business, your career, your studies, wherever you are right now in life. You understand that once you become the man, you build the physical proof, you can apply those same traits into any area of your life. So I knew when I was in that sauna, if I broke that promise to myself, it would show up in every other area of my life, because I've been in a position where I've broke those promises to myself, and I've known from past experiences that it does show up. So do not break those small promises, because if you break those small promises, I can guarantee you there is no hope in hell you're going to achieve the big goals that you want in life. Because realistically, you setting a goal is just a bigger promise to yourself. It's a big promise. Just because it's a small promise down here doesn't mean you break it to yourself. If you can't hold a small promise to yourself, you're not going to be able to hold that big promise. And then what does that mean? You're just not going to become the man. You're not going to live the life. And as I said, you first have to become the man before you live the life.